Hi everybody, this is Dee over at Aloha Astro. Here I am, in case you want to find me online, and I am available for readings. I wanted to say happy April 1st to everybody. We're done with March and into April. As I was thinking about April 1st and April Fool's Day, I went off to Google Images looking for a picture of the tarot card, the Fool. And what I came upon actually was this amazing painting that I have never seen before in my life. And then I went to Wikipedia to read some more about this painting. And interestingly, there's a comet here, and there are stars from Orion's belt. Well, I would say go take a look and visit Wikipedia.org to find out more about this painting. If you are subscribed to my newsletter, I'll be sending the link to this so you can learn more. But the interpretation of what the artist was conveying in this painting is fascinating, and I think very relevant to what is going on in our own society today. The present times, of course, they say history repeats, but there's a lot of depth and detail in this painting. And here we have the Fool, who is actually apparently the only one who is very concerned or worried about what certain things mean in terms of the future of society. Everybody else in this painting is dancing, celebrating, and he is concerned, or he's wise, even though he is the Fool. So some very interesting things in this painting, and I think you might enjoy it. I certainly did. I'll be sharing this in my newsletter that I plan to be writing after I do this video. April. Oh my gosh, April. When I look at April, I'm reminded of the first time I canoed through rapids on the Delaware River. And I was about 14 or 15 years old at the time, and no amount of canoeing practice can really get you ready for what you experience when you are about to enter the rapids and you are looking at those rapids in front of you and the rocks, and just knowing that you might not come out the other end okay. Your canoe might get wedged sideways, or you might get a hole in your canoe, or who knows. And you kind of say a prayer, and you hope that all your canoeing practice and skills will lead you to do the right thing at the right time that will help you through the river. And the first time I went through rapids, it was one of the most exhilarating things that I have ever experienced, also one of the most terrifying things. And I have the feeling that astrologically, through April of 2017, we are riding some rapids. There's a great deal of Aries energy that's still present for us. If we just look at where Aries pops up here, look for the little symbol of Aries, you can see that that's kind of a theme throughout the month, that we still have that fire, we still have that kind of warrior energy, and the concern for self, and the need to go into the fray to ride the rapids is here. And it's emergent energy. We can't avoid doing something. We can't avoid going through something. At the same time, some of the rocks in our course have to do with retrograde planets. And many of you have heard of things like, Mercury retrograde. Well, we have a bunch of retrogrades this month, and there is one particular time period where I feel that we should be a little more wary, alert, think about what we're doing, think about what we're saying, think about our actions, our behavior, think about our relationships with other people, and just be on guard during this one particular rocky time of the month. Looking closely too at our lunations and the energy that we'll be having with the full moon on the 11th. The full moon of April the 11th falls right in the time period that I feel is a danger zone, or a zone to be very careful. And we will be experiencing Mercury retrograde. There's that little R there. Mercury retrograding in Taurus, and then it will move back into Aries, as though something that we were just maybe establishing, now we might have to go back and begin again, or look at it, review it, start again before something actually sticks and becomes solid and grounded. We go back into that fire. And we will have Venus retrograde. It is retrograde right now. It turned retrograde around the first week in March, I believe March 4th. So we've been dealing with Venus retrograde, and I hear from many people about past relationships, or getting back together with people from the past, or thinking about people from the past. Some people are going back to things that they love, not necessarily people, but renewing projects, looking at what is very important in their lives, what gives them pleasure. And we have Venus going direct on the 16th. This is Eastern time, by the way. My ephemeris actually shows it for universal time. So here we have on the 16th Eastern time, we have Venus going direct. But this zone right here, from approximately April 9th to April 15th, be careful, everybody. You're going through the rapids right here. If you say something during this time to somebody, such as an ultimatum, you may not be able to take your words back, or if you change your mind again after this, you might not be able to undo something. So I would also advise that you do not establish something new for the first time during this time period, these days. It is not likely to turn out the way you planned or as you would like it to, and not because of the effort you're putting in, but sometimes outside factors. When you begin something new, you natalize something, such as first-time sex or beginning a new job. This would be the start, where you would have a chart where you have Mercury and Venus retrograde, which can make it challenging for that relationship to move forward, or for that job to be what you thought it was going to be. So be careful in establishing anything new during this time period. It's a very good time, though, for any type of reflecting, going back over, discussing something that maybe needs to be addressed, that has not been addressed, that's been avoided. If ultimatums do need to be brought forward, bring them forward. It can be a very strong clearing the air time period. And our full moon occurs in the sign of Libra, and Libra rules the 7th house of relationship. This does not have to be romantic. It can be any type of a relationship or partnership with anybody that you have close connection with, that's playing a role in your life right now. All your relationships and how you conduct them may come up during this time frame. And if you need to absolutely clear and release somebody finally, do it during this time frame. Do it during this full moon. Think about that as we are waxing, as the moon is growing toward that Libra full moon. Take a look and examine what you might want to do with both Venus retrograde as it goes back into Pisces, which we come out of the fire, we go back into the water with some more romantic overtones. There can also be forgiveness in here. The arrogance of Aries gives way to the compassion of Pisces. So the tone may shift as we go back into that Pisces energy, and there may be a chance for a rekindling of romance, or there may be a forgiveness and moving on in a release. And then Mercury here in Taurus, which is gung-ho to make something real, to make something solid. Then as we retrograde, we're going to be coming out into the fire again, where we may need to restructure. We may need to start again. We may need to dismantle everything that we were hoping was going to stick, and now we might be back at the drawing board again. In addition to those retrogrades, we have Saturn turning retrograde on the 7th of April. And Saturn retrograde may bring some things to a halt, or again, it's about structure. And overall, too, this has to do with establishment. I am wondering what will occur governmentally during this entire time frame. And there may be a great deal that needs to happen, that people need to be able to change things. There's a focus, a push for change during all this pressure, that things can't just be buried or ignored, or we can't just slide through the rapids here without something affecting us, without maybe our canoe getting jammed or a hole in our canoe. We have to be very aware that, yes, there are rocks, and yes, there's some tough stuff to be going through right now. What can we do to start again, start fresh, hit the reset button, or make things work better in relationships, in our jobs, in the government? And there's definitely some ups and downs to the month. I wanted to show you briefly a tool that I have that's accessible for you through my website. If you want to get a closer look at what might be going on for you personally through a time period like this month or any month in your future, I have the Day Watch software, which we're looking at my month right now for the month of April. And you'll see that the days are color-coded. The green days are flow, the black days are neutral, the red days are where there's high energy and there may be friction or challenge, or they are very physical days. So the greatest harmony are on the green days, and the days that might be good for working through things or may actually produce some stress or high energy would be the red days. Your days would be color-coded differently because the chart, the report here is based on your own birth time and the location of where you are at the time that this is drawn up for you. On every day, the little blue symbols here, these are the transits to my own natal chart. The black symbols, those are the transits in the heavens right now. So these transits would be the same for everybody because it's what's going on in the sky. The blue ones would be significant for you. It will show you the events of the month. You can see our retrograde planets there. It can show you when the days that planets enter a certain sign, such as Venus entering Aries on the 2nd, Mercury entering Taurus on the 20th. So that's a basic way to use the calendar here. And the other way that you can use it on a day-to-day basis, the little symbol in the right corner of every day shows where the moon is. And you can see that the moon spends about 2.5 days in a sign before it moves on to the next sign, and it will go through your chart wheel, through all the houses of your chart over the course of a month. And if you check your calendar every day, you might start to notice that there are cycles to your life month after month, and that certain moon cycles are better for you, that you like them better, that you get more done. And maybe some moon cycles you stay home and don't want to do anything, or you retreat, you go within. Sometimes you might be more outgoing. I can judge the tone by the tone of society just because I'm aware of what it feels like when the moon is in Gemini versus what it feels like when the moon is in Cancer, and how it affects society. I can pretty much guess what sign the moon is in just by how people are behaving and what's going on. And as you notice the signs and how they correspond to your chart and what house the moon moves through in your chart, you will start to understand your rhythms, and then you can use this type of information to chart your future and to make plans. Good times to go out on dates, or good times to apply for jobs, or good times to connect with your mother, or anything that you might want to plan in your life. You can look at what the moon is doing and then decide whether it's a good time versus a bad time based on the moon and how you're feeling. And there is a report that goes along with the calendar. This basically looks at every day and every single one of those little transits and aspects that they form to my natal chart are indicated here with the exact time based on my location. So I might be very inclined on April 1st at 11 o'clock in the morning to want to express my emotions because the moon makes a trine to Mercury, planet of communication and speech. Here I can see the degree that the moon is in Gemini. Now I know that my ascendant is 22 degrees of Gemini, and the moon going into my first house. Here it tells me that, oh look, there's my ascendant at 22 degrees Gemini, and the moon is conjunct my ascendant, and now the moon is in my first house. That signals to me that I'm setting off on a new monthly cycle. I'm stepping out into the first house. So I would want to put myself forward. Right now, the moon is actually a little bit buried in my 12th house, and I really just want to read a book at this moment. It's taking effort for me to try and string my words together and to actually be outgoing. But I'm overriding that tendency, and I'm telling myself as soon as I'm done with my video, as soon as I'm done writing a newsletter and emailing everybody, then I can go sit on the sofa and watch Netflix and escape into something good. But I definitely feel more like escaping than dealing with work right now because of where the moon is in my own chart. My week will gear up April 2nd, and then I'll go into overdrive. So this comes along with your calendar. If you were to order the calendar and the report, I will go ahead and send you a year report. If you notice on my site, let's take a look at it over here. Let's go to Astrology. And take a look at what we've got here. Down here we find the day watch forecasts at the bottom of the astrology page. It's $5 for the forecast and $5 for the calendar. The calendar is one full year. Normally I send just the written forecast by the month. If you order both right now, I will give you the entire year's forecast for the $5. One of the best ways to use astrology is to actually use a computer printed forecast like this, because as you're using it and observing it, even though it is computer generated, this will be based on your own birth data, and it will help you to understand what the stars do, what the planets do, how you can use them. And once you begin to identify your own personal cycles, it empowers you to get a greater control in your life of the future, especially when we are going through times like these times. And these times right around mid-month. And then as we transition into the third week of the month, and we have a great deal of Aries energy pushing forward again, and Mars moves into Gemini, where all of a sudden, well, air feeds fire, Mars is fiery. Mars in Taurus is much more grounded and does the work. Here we go more into the mental realm, and the air of Mars in Gemini will be feeding the fire here of the Aries energy. And I just feel like big bonfire. Where do you want to get fired up in life? What are your ideas or your plans? What do you need to basically deal with that might be challenging or might be difficult, or maybe you don't want to do it? How can you take a look at the rapids and figure out which days here might be best for you to do certain things? Well, one of the best ways that you can do it is just get this report. Then you can literally look at each day as it goes by, especially as you come up to the influence of that full moon, and figure out, what do you want to do on April 11th? And what will the full moon fallout be when you come to the 12th and the 13th? I've found that in my own life, and also in the rhythms I see of my clients and when they contact me, the 2 days before a new moon or a full moon, there's a definite upsurge in the number of people calling and booking readings. And then the 2 days afterwards are where things are breaking. Suddenly something changes, something shifts, or I'm hearing from people that something has occurred, the shift happened, and then I get another upsurge of calls in the 2 days immediately after. So around every full moon, you're looking at about a 4-day stretch where things are intense as you're building up to the full moon, and then as you're seeing the fallout. I call it the fallout because things start to settle and pull together, or you see the effect of all the emotional intensity that occurred at the full moon. So if you order this, you're going to see exactly what will be going on with the transits and the aspects to your own natal planets. And normally I'm not doing this to push to make $5. I am doing this to help everybody and basically let you know that there's a tool available for you that will help you navigate through some trickier times. April, I don't think it's a walk in the park for anybody. But what you do during the first 2 weeks here, 2 to 3 weeks, can set the stage for your preparedness to basically come out of the gate again. And Mercury goes direct. We'll still be under the Mercury retrograde until, let's see, here it is. Mercury goes direct on May the 4th. So we are finally free and clear of those when we get to the first week in May. And we are finally out of the woods with Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde. They will both be direct. So May does become more of a walk in the park. And then we become more stable as we get into May. But until then, take care. Keep calm. What is it the British say? Keep calm and carry on. And if you want to order the Day Watch reports and calendar, you know where to find it. It's on the astrology link on my page. And in my newsletter, I'll be sending out basically a brief reminder of the dates to watch for and a link to the Wikipedia information on this amazing painting, which just felt very significant to me when I read it. Everybody be safe, be happy, be healthy, and I will probably be back recording something else right around the full moon of the 11th.